Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this exclusive interview. I'm Adarsh Thom, Principal Correspondent with Express Computer, and today I have with me an industry veteran who has over 2 decades of rich experience in the IT industry. So through this conversation, we'll try to take a deep dive and draw some emphasis on how changing dynamics of the ICT industry and the impact of emerging technologies like AI, ML, Gen AI on ICT industry and cloud technologies as well. So on this note, I would like to welcome our speaker of the day, Dr. Keyur Jathal, who is director at Ishan Technologies, to this exclusive interview with Express Computer.
First of all, thanks, Adarsh. Thanks, Indian Express, for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. So thank you for joining us. And to move further with our first question, I would like to know what are some of the recent innovations, the recent initiatives that Ishan Technologies has taken, and how has that helped you to expand your growth, your business growth?
Okay, so since last 5 years, I would say the what we have seen is partly because of COVID and partly because of the growth. So both positive as well as the negative aspects. I mean, negative in the sense that COVID, I would term it as a negative consequence. And on the positive side, the economy has, rebound in a positive manner. So that has shaped the buying behavior of our target markets. So what are our target markets? Our target markets are the emerging corporates, the public sector entities, and within public sector entities, there are central government bodies and state government bodies. So across, what we have seen is that there is a change in the buying behavior. There is volatility, which the customer wants to adhere to, or rather wants to respond to. There are growth patterns which are not predictable. As a virtue of which, what has been the case is cloud has come to the rescue. It provides with flexibility with respect to consumption, pay per use, so on and so forth. So what we did is that we are in the third decade, Adarsh. So in this third decade, what we are looking at is both inward and outward orientation, and if you may call it a realignment. So how did we realign? I mean, this is our 23rd year of existence. We are there in four technology domains, broadly related to infrastructure. So one is network services, wherein we are into data networks. We are a Class A ISP. The second is systems integration. The third is the cloud portfolio and the data center business that we have. And the last aspect is about cybersecurity. So what we did is an innovation, if you can call it. We looked at the overlap between the telecom portfolio that we had and the systems integration portfolio that we had in light of the cloud adoption. So what we did is that we have these two legal entities, Ishan Infotech Limited and Ishan NetSol Private Limited. We merged both these entities and we came out with a rebranding activity wherein we said that we are Ishan Technologies. So that was point number one. So internally, we were aligned to the external buying mechanisms which were moving to the cloud. Now, external orientation was that we came up with different business units to lend focus and to lend customization to our target groups, and which is how we sort of customized our messaging to cater to different requirements among different industry members who were evaluating cloud, who were having doubts as to how to move from on-premise to the cloud journey, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, how we were received, I mean, and yes, over the past few years, we have been received very well in the market. The numbers show that. So if I give you a reference of a financial indicator, over the last decade, we have maintained a CAGR of more than 35%. Right from the year of inception, we have been an EBITDA positive company. Even the downturn in COVID, I'm talking about the industry downturn, we were fairly successful in even that time zone. Now, even after all these things, we continue to be a positive net worth company. So it suffices to say that the realignment for internal structuring of the company, retooling ourselves with respect to cloud, with respect to cybersecurity, and going out to the market with the renewed, vision has translated into growth, into us being accepted across the industry.
Thanks, sir. That I think very well addresses my question, as you just said that, how you came up with a new entity, with a refreshed entity, and that helped you to, take your growth further. And I think, by the way, congratulations to being a bit positive since the very beginning. I think there are not many companies who can have those, boast claims, who can boast such claims. And, it's an achievement in itself.
Yes,
Well,
it's
moving on.
more so because we are expanding, right? The last 3 years we are present across India. We have a team size of 1,700, and we continue to expand. So kudos to our financial team who has, managed that fiscal discipline well.
Definitely, sir. Kudos to them. It's their hard work and it's their work, how they've been managing. And it shows, the numbers shows, definitely. Moving ahead with my next question, so I would like to know a little more about the talk of the town technology, generative AI. So what trends do you foresee shaping the future, shaping the Gen AI and ML industry, the future of these industries, and how do you see the impact of that on ICT? Also, how is Ishan Technologies positioned to capitalize on them?
Right. So good question, Adarsh. And Gen AI, as you mentioned, there is enough and more information, there are enough and more experts, talking about it. So, responding to this question can take ages as well, right? So let me, limit my response to the pragmatic domain. Now, what is pragmatic domain? I would say that, okay, Gen AI, all of us know what Gen AI is all about. So I'll not, sort of deliberate on that. But how will it impact customers and how will it impact us, right? So I'll answer your question in two phases, Adarsh. So one is that industry at large. While I did speak about the difference in buying behavior, people are now moving to the cloud. But let me still tell you that Gen AI will contribute at the customer end in a fairly big way. So if I'm thinking about a hypothetical customer of mine, and we usually speak with functional heads or CIOs or chief digital officers, or if it is in the mid market, then we also engage with the promoters of the company, right? Now, what are the changes at in this part of the industry, in the customer part of the industry? Now, for the promoter, if he wishes to know that how can he leverage IT so as to increase his business coverage, increase efficiencies, then he has that information on fingertips. He just types the question and he has the answer. So the learning curve or the time period taken to gain that part of the knowledge has reduced quite a bit. So I would say that, Gen AI has democratized artificial intelligence. It's no longer in the domain of IT experts. Nowadays, I'm sure that your family, at my end, my kids are using Gen AI for various things, right? So having said that, the CIO, if he is catering to the promoter or reporting to the CFO or reporting into the promoter, his job is also getting a bit difficult because the promoter is used to, filing queries in the LLM model and getting contextual inputs which he can easily understand. So if there is a promoter who has invested into a costly ERP, have gone through the complex deployment process, now he will expect the CIO office to give him contextual input almost on a real-time basis, because that's what Gen AI is training us to expect. So that is where the CIO job is becoming a bit complex, and I'm sure he is aided by Gen AI also. So that is the second difference. So one is the learning curve is crashing with respect to knowing newer topics. Second is there is a change in expectation from the CIO office. Secondly, the CIO is now talking to cross-functional heads. Now, all these cross-functional heads, be it finance, be it manufacturing, be it HR, all of them are knowing now that where can technology help? Which is where the CIO office is now becoming a nodal point for a digital organization. Correct. So it's a good thing as well as it's a challenge. Yeah.
Yes, I think you very well, placed how GenAI is kind of sort of a double-edged sword, where you
Correct. So
can,
that is from a customer standpoint. From a
yeah,
vendor standpoint, now if knowing is becoming redundant, now that's a large statement to make, but that is where we are moving in the sense that can I differentiate myself from knowing a subject better than the competitor? The answer is no, because AI is a neutralizer now. Gen AI is a neutralizer there. So for us, the buying cycles are reducing to an extent because the customer knows about the product. Now, we as vendors, we just have to explain that in his context, in the customer's context, how will the new technology help, right? And the area where we can create differentiation is with respect to service delivery. And for the vendor, AI helps in knowing the customer better, in identifying the target group better, in designing a pre-sales solution or in designing a technical solution so as to be uh, accurately positioned for the customer requirement, which is where again we do see a role of AI there. So in a nutshell, I spoke about how does it change the scenario at the customer end and how it does it help us as vendors to speak to these customers.
great, sir. And I would like to echo the statement that you made that GenAI has actually democratized AI. So I
Correct.
think you very rightly pointed out because today every person, irrespective of if he's a technocrat or not, if he's just a regular individual, everyone has Chat GPT sort of a model with at the fingertips, and it has just become new Google, so to say.
True.
And also, sir, I would like to pick up the points when you talk about how GenAI is not only helping or aiding the jobs of a CIO, but it is also making it difficult because of the rising expectations by the higher management on the
True.
promptness of the answers
And
that they want.
yes, there is one more aspect is which is a bit again it's a dual-edged sword there that we find these responses credible enough. We don't question the output that one gets from the Gen AI tools, correct? So one needs to be wary. And fortunately, right now, the use cases are at the periphery. When I say the use cases are at the periphery, they're not really mission critical. That the cost of a wrong input is not so large. But the moment Gen AI walks into the medical domain, the digital medicine domain, that which is where there need to be guardrails. Correct. So while the democratization is a good thing, but too much of democratization and too much of I would say faith in the outputs that we get from Gen AI, that also need to be balanced with the rationale of the person using the tool.
Definitely, and I think the democratization has to be in a controlled environment. Moreover, there has to be, certain guidelines or certain standards to which AI's responses can be accepted. As you just mentioned, that persons should have their own rationale on the responses and should actually judge or analyze the response if it's even relevant and valid or not, because ultimately I think it boils down to the kind of data it's feeding on and the same kind of output it's giving. So accuracy of data is very much important, especially when it comes to the enterprise environments. Well, moving on, I think we had a really interesting conversation on Gen AI right now. So moving on, let's drift towards a little on cloud services. So with the increasing migration of cloud services, what strategies does Ishan Technologies employ to ensure seamless integration and management of hybrid environments?
Interesting. So we have had across the cross section of our customer group, we have had different types of customer expectations, different types of SLA requirements, and different types of workloads. So if I were to speak to a customer from a manufacturing industry, our response would be different than if I'm talking to a customer from a higher education segment. So what we have done internally is that we have templatized our approach with respect to the cloud adoption journey. So where we score really well is, first of all, in this framework that we have internally. So first is we start with an advisory. Depending upon where the customer is in his cloud adoption journey, if the customer is exploring cloud, if he has experimented a bit with the cloud, and now he says that, okay, let me embark on that journey. At this stage, we engage with advisory services. So what is it that we do in advisory services? One is that we look at his application landscape. We identify applications which are good candidates for virtualization and which can be moved to the cloud. We help him assess the resources on the cloud, because this part is underplayed quite a bit by systems integration vendors or by cloud vendors. Now, what helps us, and this is very important, Adarsh, is that we are a technology neutral company and we are a vendor neutral company. If I give you an example, an analogy from finance, now if I want to buy equity, if I want to invest in equity, and if I go to a mutual fund house, they'll obviously move me to mutual fund investment, correct? So because it is his interest to sell mutual funds. Whereas out here, I can sell you equity, I can sell you mutual funds as well. So I just gave you that analogy. So if a customer says that, yes, I want to move everything to cloud, we do step in and we do say that that may not be the best case scenario. How can we say that? Is because we've got in-house pre-sales team members who are good on the systems integration domain. We can reason with him. And then obviously the decision lies with the customer himself. So one is assessing resources. The second is evaluating his applications, which are good candidates for migrating to the cloud. Third aspect is again calculating what is the bandwidth consumption that he'll face once he moves to the cloud. Because his customers, when I say his customers, the CIO's internal customers will need a good user experience. Otherwise, the entire effort is a thankless job. So three aspects in terms of advisory, including the last component, which is we would also look at the bandwidth consumption and we'll give him suggestions there. The second part is once there is enough clarity on this part, we will actually help him and we'll do the migration of the applications which were shortlisted. So we can do that from physical to virtual, wherein he was having servers in his data center and now he is wanting to move to the cloud. Which is where, because we have designed the resources for him, because we have identified the bandwidth requirements, we can do this migration, the lift and shift, as they say, in a very seamless manner. We can identify downtimes, etc. We can look at his business continuity practices, so on and so forth. Now, assume that he's a mature customer. Assume that we are talking now to a different customer who's already mature and who is already there in a multi-cloud environment. What do I mean by multi-cloud environment? One is that he has instances on AWS and he has instances on Azure. Now, if he says that, okay, Ishan, can you help us migrate one instance from a particular cloud to the other? We are well suited to do that as well. How? Because we have cloud-based cloud interconnect agreements with all the large hyperscale partners. When I say all, practically, there are these 3 to 4 large hyperscalers. So AWS, Oracle, GCP, and Microsoft. So we have ongoing discussions with them. We are approved by them for cloud-based cloud interconnect, and we can actually move this customer from instance 1 to instance 2 by providing a fat pipe between these two instances, right? So which is where we help in migration as well. And people usually don't talk about the reverse migration. Assume that a customer is not happy for reasons known to him, and he wants to come back from a cloud to on-premise. There again, we can help him well, because we've got good capabilities around systems integration, good capabilities around setting up servers, storage array networks on the on his own data center. And since we are an ISP, we have got a great hold on designing data networks as well. So this helps us speak with customers, and that is how customers are responding well to our cloud pitch. And coupled with it is the investment in data centers that we have made. We've got a tier 3 data center in Mumbai, which we term as Mumbai DC1. At Chennai, we have a tier 3 DC again. And for customers who want a tier 4 data center facility, we have a facility at Gift City, Gandhinagar, Gujarat as well. So that in a nutshell helps us to speak with customers who are evaluating cloud journey, or who are already maturing in that journey.
So it's great to know the kind of flexibility that Ishan is offering. And I think I'm pretty sure that a lot of your customers would be satisfied with these kind of services when their workloads can be moved from one cloud to the other if required, if and when required. Also, I resonate with a very interesting statement that you said, that if a customer comes to you and tells you that they want in their entire workload on shifted to cloud or migrated to the cloud, that's where you at times tell them no for this. And I think this kind of strategy, which we call as a hybrid strategy, where we have critical data on your on premise and the rest of the data or the workloads on cloud. I think this is a strategy which is well adapted when it comes to security angle, and security becomes a key for this. So with this, I come to my following question, which is again on cybersecurity. So I would like to know, so as the complexity of IT environment has grown with the onset of newer technologies, so as the threat vectors have also developed, threat vectors have also grown and also evolved. So how do you think, what is the criticality of cybersecurity in today's world, and how Ishan is ensuring robust disaster recovery and business continuity solutions?
Okay, so uh, two parts to the answer. One is, obviously cybersecurity is really important, because whatever we are doing, whether we are putting up an on-premise setup, whether we are migrating to the cloud, in the end, it is all about data. If data is not available, then all the entire hard work of our IT teams, of vendors, of customers, the dollars that we are spending goes down the drain, which is where cybersecurity comes in. And uh, you know, an interesting thing that one of my customers told me when he was embarking on a digital journey was that you need to be where your customers are. So all of us, whether we are customers or vendors, we are present online. We have our digital identities. All of us are now used to the app first approach, the mobile app first approach. We like to use apps compared to browser based portals. So what is happening now is, because of the digital first approach, the new entrants are threatening the traditional champs of the market. Correct. Now, at both the ends, the digital first companies as well as traditional companies, they are now increasing their digital presence. With increase in digital presence, the attack surface increases, right? So the idea is not to move with a conservative caution. The idea is that, yes, move ahead, but be cautious, and have your cybersecurity landscape in place. Now, what we do with our customers from a cybersecurity aspect is that we take up an infrastructure approach, because that is the backbone. A robust and agile network is the backbone for any digital initiatives that one would adopt to. Our expertise lies in protecting this network backbone. Correct. How do we do that? So we've got three verticals within cybersecurity. One is that if there is a customer who says that, can you look at some performance issues that I am facing in the network. I now have a multi-cloud, environment. I have a work from anywhere concept in my organization. Now, in this scheme of things, can you look at performance? Can you do an audit? Right. So for people who are familiar with cybersecurity landscape, they know about VAPT services. Yeah. So we start with that. And prior to VAPT, we also do a network performance check. Yeah. So one is we look at whether improvements are required at the network stack. Second, once the performance is plugged in, then we look at the cybersecurity layer, starting with VAPT. And in VAPT, we are managed security service partners for certain reputed vendors in that space. Once the VAPT audit is done, we come up with a report, and then we come to the second pillar that we have in the cybersecurity domain, which is with respect to remediation. So in remediation, we look at the network layer, we look at the data layer also, and we look at the edge also, edge of the IT infrastructure, which is your client devices, laptops, desktops, etc. See, we look at that and we propose solutions which the customer may find value in. And the last aspect of the cybersecurity, the third aspect of cybersecurity is that we have technology partnerships with companies which have products around SIEM and who run SOC as a service. So our value to that relationship with our technology partners and in front of our customers is that we translate the customer requirement really well. We curate the offering by adding resources from our side, by adding the skill set from our side, and we try to optimize both on the technology side as well as on the commercial side, because it is our habit to own the SLA. We don't wish to talk to the customer saying that this looks like a ISP problem. No. I am the ISP. Let me help you there. This looks like a systems integration problem. I think I'm the ISP, so I'll not look at systems thing. No. So I am the ISP. I am the systems integrator as well. And I'm your cloud consultant as well. So because of these three points of engagement, the customer does trust us to speak on their behalf to the larger players in the market today. And the larger players in the market today know that they're speaking to a mature team who will give a good service level to their customer. Because us being an ISP, we know what 99.99% uptime is and what is 99.999% uptime. What is the difference between the two? So that maturity is there with us. And the icing on the cake, Adarsh, is that we are a CMMI level 3 compliant organization on the IT services domain. So you will find a lot of software companies already on CMMI level 5, but an IT services company having a CMMI accreditation, rare. We have invested in that. We have partnered with KPMG, and they were the ones to work with us on the best practices. So in a nutshell, this is our approach towards cybersecurity and towards the customer engagement in that domain.
And sir, I think the quality of services that Ishan is offering, I think that's well justified with the certification that you just spoke about.
True.
As the yeah.
The second part of my answer, which is related to DR and business continuity, which you asked. Now, here again, we look at, again, the engagement model remains the same. One is advisory. We start with why do you want to have a DR in the first place? There are companies which are compliance driven, who are subject to a lot of regulations. There are industries like that. There are pharma companies who are subject to a lot of regulations. So, and then there are public utility companies which have a tremendous responsibility with respect to public data that they have. Correct. So if it is compliance driven, then the way forward is fairly simple. It is fairly regimented. So we go by that process. We speak on a DR, whether on-premise DR or whether DR on the cloud. Because as I said, being technology neutral and being vendor neutral helps us to curate the solution, and which is where we say that we are uniquely yours. That's our tagline of Ishan Technologies. So there, why do you need DR? Second is, once that answer is there with us, we talk with the customer with respect to a technical term called RPO, RTO, written point objective, written time objective, which sort of tells us how critical is the DR setup. And afterwards, along with the RPO, RTO responses, we ask the customer whether you are looking at a hot DR, whether you are looking at a cold DR, or whether you are looking at a warm DR, which is between the hot and the cold DR, correct? Based on that response, again, we design a solution, for them, and then we work with them on designing a DR policy, because this is a topic where most of the customers find it a bit complex to define a DR policy. How do you define a DR instance, right? Which is where we work with them. Quite a lot of customers have got mature IT teams who know how to do it, but for emerging companies, mid-market companies, they do need assistance. So that's a value add service from our end. We work with them on identifying the DR triggers, identifying a DR practice, and last but not the least, running mock recovery sessions with them. Because at the end of it all, disaster recovery, recovery is the operating word there. That's the important word. If you're not able to recover data in time in the fashion that you want it, then entire effort goes in waste. So this is how we look at DR solutions and business continuity. Others.
Yes, sir, you rightly pointed out that if you are not able to recover the data in time and in place, the entire thing goes to waste. And I think that's where it also hampers the business continuity, as data is at the core of any business today.
True, true.
Yeah, so the way that you answered this, I think my inference says, it highlights the cruciality and the criticality of cybersecurity, also the data recovery and resilience, which is very important these days because data is what people need today. Your entire business is running on data. The insights from it is very important today to take, critical decisions. So yeah, I think this is where enterprises need to invest heavily and need to get best-in-class solutions. And just as you mentioned that how Ishan is operating, this shows that you're really taking these things seriously. Also, sir, you also mentioned that you are the ISP, you are the cloud consultant, you're also the system integrator. So
True.
we've heard the cloud part of yours. We've also heard about the cybersecurity. Now let's
Mhm.
move to the system integration part because it again plays a very crucial part in optimizing operational efficiencies.
True.
So how is Ishan Technologies facilitating the smooth integration of diverse systems within organizations?
Thanks for asking this question, Adarsh, because nowadays people talk about cloud, and the underlay is the systems integration part. Now, let me tell you, our investment in the last 10 odd years, or rather 15 years, when we started taking up mission critical projects across the markets that we mentioned in the earlier part of my talk. Now, the way in which we have put forward the systems integration portfolio covers a very broad range of the infrastructure stack. So if I were to explain you in layman terms, now whenever a company is being established, whenever a factory is being set up, whenever a hospital is being constructed, the first thing that you need is internet, correct? So we are ISPs, but ISP is in a network services stack. So once the internet comes in, how is it distributed in your building across your organization? So which is where our systems integration stack starts. So we set up data networks for you. Along with data networks, there are Wi-Fi deployments that we do. And in each and every stack that I'm talking about, we are into advisory, we are into deployment, and we are into O&M also. Yeah. So data networks, once the network is established, people start coming in, the building is erected, employees start joining. What do you want to give them? Do you want to give them laptops, desktops, etc.? So the edge of your IT infrastructure. So we are partners with Apple. We are one of the very few partners across India who have partnered with Apple. And yes, along with that, we have got alignment with all the major brands in the country today. Dell, Lenovo, so on and so forth. Now, here is where we give them devices to work with. Once the devices are in place, the network is in place, the ISP, the internet is in place, people would need applications. Where are applications hosted? Applications are hosted on the servers. Where is the data of those applications? It is there on the storage. So we are there. So now moving to the data center part of things. So we are, partners with all the major OEMs. We have skills, in-house skill sets to design, solutions around servers, around storages, so on and so forth. So once the server and storage is in place, then people would talk about data backup solutions, which is where again we have alignments in place. We have existing customers who are utilizing data backup services from our side, whether on premise or whether through the cloud. We can talk to them on both the aspects. So data networks, server storage, and data backup. Right. This is the portfolio, the range of portfolio that we have in the systems integration domain. Now, this is about setting up the IT infrastructure for the company. Now, if we approach a mature company and they say that, can you engage with us on server consolidation projects? We are having some issues on some data lakes that we have created, or some storage areas. We have got some issues. Our users are not getting required response times. We can look at that. Yeah. So meaning to say that we can look at optimizing the existing investments in IT infrastructure. We can look at providing them cybersecurity, related hardware infrastructure, firewalls, UTM devices, so on and so forth. So that so our range of systems integration products helps us speak with the customers across his maturity levels. And the customer does not have to identify different vendors for different products within the systems integration domain itself. Right? So that is helping us in being responsive to the customers.
As you just said, that customers do not have to look for different vendors within system integration domain. So basically, we can say that Ishan is the one-stop shop when it comes to system integration.
Yes, you're right.
Great. So, sir, can you share one success story as an example to how, if effectively you guys have transformed a business or helped them transform?
Right. So there are transformation initiatives which have a huge impact. And these initiatives usually are in the public domain. So let me give you an example of smart city projects. I'll not speak specifically about one particular smart city project, but I'll talk in general. So we have by now we have exposure of executing smart city projects across more than 7 cities. Right. Now, what is it that we do in these projects? Now, a smart city starts with connectivity. Because if you're not connected, forget about data. Your data will lie in silos. Your agencies will not be able to sort of communicate with each other. So, smart cities started with the connectivity stack, which is where, if you talk about Rajkot, Vadodara, Surat, these are the places where we worked with these urban local bodies and we took up OFC laying projects, optical fiber cable. And these are large scale projects. So once the optical fiber is laid out, there are smart poles which are installed across the route. Yeah. Now, how is a smart pole different than a normal pole that we see in the city? Now, smart pole has got a bit of power on its own, a power generation device on its own, or other backup device on its own. It is a powered pole. What does it power? It powers sensors at times. It powers the CCTV cameras which are there on those poles. If you've got large format displays, it powers them as well. So we set up poles across the designated places. And then if there are sensors on these poles, then we capture data from these sensors, and then we feed it to the command and control center. So right from, I would say, working on the solution at the design aspect, to speaking with the PMCs, the project management consultants, which are usually big fives, so PwC, KPMG, etc. Now we engage with them, and then we engage with the government customer as well. And these are large-scale projects which require project execution capability. They require financial maturity as well, because these are high capex projects. So happy to say that we have executed these more than 7 projects across the network topology that I just spoke about. And these are being used by urban local bodies. Citizens have started using them effectively. There is always a learning curve, which all the projects, all the urban local bodies, all the vendors in this, in this domain are going through. But the benefits are really immense. The benefits to the urban local bodies. These initiatives help deliver the smart city that the PM had envisioned when the initiative itself was floated. So we are glad, we are proud to partner with this Digital India mission in terms of our attraction with these smart cities.
So it was really wonderful to know your example, the kind of the initiative that you took for the smart cities and the projects that you had, and also like just to mention at the end that how you're proud to partner for the Digital India mission. So I think it's great to see the perspective of the company. Now, moving ahead with the last question, I think we have come to the end of this interview. So, I would like to know what is your future outlook? What are your future plans or strategies for Ishan Technologies? What we going to see in the coming months?
Okay, so point number one, we want to continue what is working well for us, and we want to continue investing in those zones. Now, which are these aspects? One is the technology stack. We want to continue augmenting the technology stack in terms of the cloud rollouts, in terms of cybersecurity. And what we are seeing, which is an interesting trend, is on the network side and on the cybersecurity side, there is an overlap now. Previously, there was a network silo, and then there was a cybersecurity silo. But with the increase in threat, attacks, so on and so forth, and the breaches, etc., both these aspects are merging now. So internally, what we are doing is that we are coming up with managed services which will help customers to optimize the performance on the network aspect, at the same time protect that network topology. Yeah, I mean that network deployment across topologies. Let me put it that way. So we just launched our new product offering called One Secure, which is an amalgamation of SD-WAN functionalities as well as SASE functionalities. SASE is basically a Gartner coined term which talks about security on the SD-WAN layer. Security components such as zero trust, network access, CASB, firewall as a service, etc. CASB is basically cloud access security broker. So these are interesting trends which are coming up, and we are aligning ourselves, we are aligning our managed services so as to be relevant to that trend and to bring value to our customer engagement. So one is investing into technology. After investing into technology, we are coming out with these new products. We are also coming out with CX Connect, a new range of managed services, which is around voice services. So by voice services, what do I mean? I mean hosted contact centers, click to call kind of functionalities, which will be used by customers who've got extensive sales force, who've got a huge customer support help desk, so on and so forth. Now, these are certain newer initiatives, newer investment from our side. Our investment in data centers will keep on continuing. We are looking at building infrastructure for specific customized workloads. Because today you've got these large scale, data center providers, which are catering to the mass workloads. But what we are seeing, and this is based on customer feedback, that while they are on the cloud for mass workloads, for customized workloads, they're still on-prem. So they would, want a provider who can, set up a data center, be it a mainstay data center or an edge, data center, uh, and take care of these customized workloads. So we are in touch with certain OEMs who can host these workloads. We are in touch with certain customers also, who can be our anchor customers in this domain. So this is where, we are expanding and we are investing. The other very important aspect is team augmentation. So internally, we are relooking our policies. The company is becoming employee friendly by the day, and we are looking at increasing our team size by almost twice or thrice if the need arises. And we have to resonate with the Gen Zs of today, and we need to build an organization which gives them a scope to learn, a scope to enrich their careers, a scope to provide flexibility also. So we are heavily investing in terms of HR, if you ask me. And there is a tremendous focus in learning and development, because while we speak, the world outside is changing. And if we speak to Gen Zs, if you want to speak to customers who are also, wanting us to be abreast with the changing technology landscape, then we have to invest a lot in terms of technology as well as soft skills. Because we are a services company, Adarsh. So for a services company, it is the employee who is the product, product in the sense that who is the ambassador of that company. So that is what we are investing on. And lastly, while our country is expanding, they say that most of the country will be urbanized in the next decade. We are investing in terms of networks, which is a very serious investment. We are investing in terms of networks into last mile connectivity in tier 2, tier 3, and at times even in tier 4 cities. So that is the investment, and which is where we see that the ROI will come in the next couple of years. So technology, people, and connectivity, which is somewhat related to technology, but the connectivity part on the last mile.
So it's great to know, sir, how you are, aligning with the changing trends in the market, and how you're trying to keep yourself relevant and trying to add more value to the customer. Also, the last part which you just spoke about, that how you're trying to reach out to the last mile, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and at times the tier 4 cities. I think that's the need of the hour today.
True.
Today, that is very much required, because everything is interconnected, especially with the power of internet and how digitalization has taken over completely. So I don't think it's the going forward will be possible without connectivity. So that ought to be there. So sir, it was a really wonderful talk, very really amazing chat that I had with you, and there were multiple key takeaways for me, as well as I'm pretty sure there'll be for our audience too. So thank you for sharing such knowledge or invaluable thoughts with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sparing out time. Thank you very much.